This is the last part of the planning process. We've spent our time looking at the context, we've defined our scope, we've looked at people and who they are, and we've used that to begin to build a process. Now what we want to do is get clear on what are the messages that we're needing to send and communicate as we go out. Before we talk about that in terms of the Bungalyup example, let's have a look at a bit of theory around messaging. That with every project, there's an outcome. But the outcome is not necessarily just the practical outcome, as we've said, there's the relationship one as well. And not only that, but there's also another outcome, which is about your communication outcome. What is it that you're wanting to achieve as a result of the communication that you're sending? It's something that's really worthwhile considering. You know, I can communicate with my kids all I like, but unless I'm clear on the outcome I'm trying to achieve, sometimes the words I use aren't as effective because I get caught on the words rather than the outcome I'm trying to achieve. Also, every project may well have a certain audience, and that audience may vary from project stage to project stage. So it's good to think about, so who is the audience for this stage of the project, for this message? Then it's also important to begin to think about, well, what channel are we going to use? What type of communication channel? Are we going to go into social media? Are we going to use email? Are we going to use face-to-face? Are we going to use print media? There's any number of ways in which we could actually communicate this message. So what channels are going to deliver the best outcomes for your program? So, and finally we get to the message. Now the interesting thing is that most people start with the message and then try and fit the channels and audience and everything into it. And what this model is showing is start with the outcome, get clear on what the outcome is, then go to the audience and understand who you're trying to communicate to, then go to your channels and go, well, because the message you use for social media is going to be different in its form than the message you use in an email or the message you use in print media. In actual fact, social media, the way you talk on Facebook is going to be different to how you talk on LinkedIn. So there's no point trying to wish for a generic message. So it's going to have to be built as you go through. So let's have a look at Bungalyup. Let's have a look at the communication plan that we did for Bungalyup. And if you go to the draft plan that we've already completed, what you'll notice, and on screen we've got a simplified version, is we've actually spent a lot of time looking at each stage and phase of the project, looking at what the outcomes are, what the key messages are, who the audience is, so defining all of those different elements of the communication plan, which actually is a direct complement to the engagement plan. And there you have it. You've then ended up giving yourself a really good chance of engaging well with the community, because you've gone out there with a clear understanding of their context. You've gone out there with a clear communication of your scope and what's in and out of scope. You've gone out there with an understanding of who the people are, and you're meeting them with what their needs are, and you're understanding their views and their values. You've also gone out there and you've created a process that's engaging, that's activating, that's actually getting people interested, and you've got messages that are actually delivering the kinds of outcomes you want. So that actually brings us to the end of this series. As we've said at the start, you've got your engagement template, which you can use, go back over this video and spend some time completing that template so you can actually begin to build and refine your engagement plan. And if you've got any questions, feel free to make contact with us at AHA Consulting, or you can make contact with DRD and they'll be happy to provide you with some more information. Thanks for your time and happy engaging.